Good morning, friends. Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. Good morning, all. Hello, hello. Pray you're doing well this morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Today is going great. Wait for a few people to come along here this morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning, all. Hello, hello. It's a nice and bright sunny Wednesday. Hope the day is treating you well. Good morning, everyone. Hello, gang. A little mug up this morning. A little Hard Rock Cafe mug up. Hey, Jamie Battles. Good morning to you. I was just looking at those postcards the other day, or last night. Sitting there right there by my little workstation. I just thumbing through those of a different age and a different time. Thank you for that. So, good morning, everybody. All right, let's get going this morning. It is the 19th day of February here on this Wednesday at 11:11, and I'm glad you're with us. I'm glad you're a part of this journey. If any of you remember the old movie Back to the Future, there is this moment in Back to the Future where they they discover that Biff, the bad guy, has to go, ends up taking the one of the sports memorabilia books from the past and brings it forward so that they can, and he becomes rich and famous because he's great at betting because he knows what the future is. He has been to the past, and so as he lives into the future, he knows kind of what the sporting events are going to be, and he wins. It's locked in time. If you didn't see it, don't worry about it. But it's a conversation I keep seeming to have these days, that everybody seems to be worried about the future, that what's going to happen, what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen politically, what's going to happen in the days ahead. How I hear older people saying, "Oh, I'm glad I lived when I did," and I hear younger people saying, "Oh, this is such a horrible time to be alive," or that we don't have advantages that other generations had, and everybody seems to lament the fact that we're going, that there's going to be there's going to be a tomorrow, and we're all just twiddling goosebumps about what tomorrow will bring. And this was reminded me by the great Len Sweet, reminded me of this again, and it's actually at the heart of my belief around both kind of how we should live, but also how we should understand what it is to live today going into a tomorrow. You see, because right now there are a lot of people trying to figure out what the future looks like, right? There's all kinds of forecasting going on, future casting. They're taking the present and they're looking forward into what is it going to bring, what's going to come up next, what's going to happen. Oh, we should be scared, and perhaps we should. Perhaps they're right, but that is not what the gospel tells us, nor is it the way that the world really has ever worked. That there are no experts on the future. And anyone who claims to be an expert on the future, I think we only need to look at the past 5 years and say all the predictions, pick one, and how they actually came out versus the predictions of what came to pass. And so I want to suggest to you today that one of the things we have to remember is what comes out of it. We find it in Revelation, we find it in Hebrews, and I want to read you this little piece from Hebrews, and we'll get to Revelation later. But this notion that and again, I'm thankful to the Great Lens Suite for reminding me of this, because it really is it's kind of always been something that's up in my grill. But sometimes you forget things, or sometimes things just fall off the table, and this has always been one of my kind of central beliefs and central points, and yet and I think and in maybe these days it's so important to kind of return to these central things. And so this is the end of Hebrews 6. When people make promises, they guarantee them by the appeal to some authority above them. So that if there is any question that they make good on their promise, the authority will back them up. It's kind of like having a VA loan or something. Like you take the loan, but there's this authority behind you that backs them up. So if you make a promise, there's an authority behind you that makes the promise true. When God wanted to guarantee his promises, he gave his word, a rock solid guarantee. God can't break his word. And because his word cannot change, the promise is likewise unchangeable. We who have run for our very lives to God have every reason to grab the promised hope with both hands and never let it go. It is an unbreakable spiritual lifeline, reaching past all appearances right up to the very presence of God, where Jesus, running on ahead of us, has taken up his permanent post. Do you see it? Do you see it in there? It's at the center of what we understand, how God's operation is in the work, and yet in the world. Yet we miss it all the time. Jesus has run on ahead of us and has taken up his permanent post and throws a lifeline back to us. The future is not something that starts at where we are right now in the present, and then tomorrow goes forward and is created, and tomorrow goes forward and is created, and tomorrow goes forward and is created. That's not the future. The future actually comes to us. That God comes to us from the future and brings us forward. And this, if you really think about it, this is how everything in the world, every great improvement, every great gift, every great inspiration, every great piece of music, every great piece of artwork, every love story, everything that has ever come into being, every good thing that's ever come into our life actually comes into our life that way. We think because we are drawn into goodness. We are drawn into the next great and beautiful thing. That it is thrown to us and we come to it. Why is Christianity the only tradition on the planet that has ever advocated for the end of slavery? Christianity is it, by the way. Islam never said to end slavery. Buddhism never says to end slavery. Nobody else makes the ethical claim. Nobody else says the world need be better when humans are not enslaving other humans. That is actually that is. And where does that come from? Did that come from our past? Did we rummage around in the past and find some moral principle? No. Did it come even from our present? Did we all of a sudden one day wake up and say, "Oh, gosh, we just need to be better than we are"? If we did, it's because we were. If that is how we imagine the experience of it, it is because we are actually being drawn into goodness and beauty. That when Harriet Beecher Stowe writes Uncle Tom's Cabin and changes the landscape of America forever with this incredible little book that tells the story of slavery in America to people who largely didn't know the story of slavery, or largely were able to look away from it, or didn't have to deal with it. And that we have the quote from Abraham Lincoln when he meets Harriet Beecher Stowe, who writes this book, and The American Civil War had just broken out, and his words to upon meeting her, it says, "Oh, hello. So you're the little lady who started this war." How does that come to us? It comes to us from the future. It comes to us in an imagining that things might be other than they are. It comes to us from a call that things might be better than they are. It comes to us from a way that things might be greater than they are today. It comes to us from a vision. It is a unbreakable spiritual lifeline, reaching past all appearances, reaching past economic realities, reaching past all kinds of things, right into the very presence of God, where Jesus, running on ahead of us, has taken up his permanent post. Jesus comes to us from the future. God comes to us from our future, not from our past. God will reconcile our past. God will reconcile all the dumb things we ever did. God will reconcile all the brokenness of our lives. But God will do that through calling us into the future. If this were not so, what would heaven be for? I mean, this is the whole idea, that we are going to come from this world into the next, into eternity, so that we might be a child of eternity, brought into eternal future. We're being brought forth into that. And if you doubt that, the rest of go back to Revelation itself, where this kind of idea of how does this thing actually work. Well, at the very end of Revelation, 21st chapter, there's only 22 chapters, 21st chapter, when we get the vision of what this whole thing has been brought to us, why we're doing this thing, and to begin with, it's in the beginning of the 21st chapter, it says this: I saw the holy city, new created, descending, resplendent from heaven. The holy city, New Jerusalem, resplendent from heaven, out of heaven, as ready for God as a bride for her husband. And I heard a voice thunder from the throne, look, God has moved into the neighborhood and making his home with men and women. God has moved into the neighborhood. Where did God move into the neighborhood from? From the future, from the hope of that which is to come, from the hope of that which is true and good and beautiful, that is coming to us, that is being raised up in our own understanding of ourselves, that is being raised up in our own understanding of a better ethic for the world, that is being raised up in a way that we are able to let go of and let behind the things that would hinder and break us, that it is a guaranteed unbreakable spiritual lifeline. And so I'm exhausted by this conversation that I seem to keep having about how the world's going to hell and what's coming up next, and oh my God, it's all going to hell. If it's going to hell, it's only going there to conquer it and reclaim it and destroy it and bring it into the light. That's the only reason Jesus goes to hell, is to free the captives. That's what Holy Saturday is all about. The only reason things go to hell is so that we, the angels, may come and conquer its gates and destroy its hellish nature, and to bring the beauty and the truth and the goodness of heaven into the world and into our lives. Friends, my hope for you today, and I want to give you an actual practice that you can do to bring this into being. My hope for you today is to stop worrying about what the future may hold. Stop worrying about the future, what the future may bring, and cast for yourselves one beautiful thing on the horizon. Maybe your horizon, what you can imagine is lunchtime. Maybe that's as far as you can get right now. It's 11. Maybe you can get 45 minutes down the road and say, okay, but at lunch, I'm going to eat something delicious. Or I'm going to text someone I love. Or I'm going to reach out to, I'm going to listen to something beautiful. Or I'm going to create something that I haven't created before. That I'm going to seek to open myself to God's Spirit. I'm going to pray in a way. Cast something into your future that is has the promise of something true and good and beautiful in it. Like, and if you can't, if you can't think of anything, just Google things I can be thankful for, and make it, and and find a list from there. I mean, there's ways you can come at these things, but there can be one simple. It doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be huge, but one simple and small thing that you can cast into the future. Maybe it's just lunch, or maybe it's something tremendous and gorgeous and beautiful that is coming to you, or maybe it's a hope that you have for the way things might be other than they are. But that when we do that, when we let go of that great line, the nattering nabobs of negativism, when we let go of our own negative self-talk, when we let go of the stinking thinking that will take up the space of our anxiety, that anxiety comes to us because there are things we can't control. Well, guess what, friends? The Lord is in control. The Lord is in his heaven, and all is right with the world. That doesn't mean all that's good, all that's happening in it is good. But that it is right. And if it's not right yet, it is being made right. And so remember that there is an unbreakable spiritual lifeline, no matter what appearances look like, coming to you not from the past, and not even from this moment, but coming to you from tomorrow, and is pulling you forward, and is inviting you to pull back. And that your meager efforts, your simple, boy, I'm really looking forward to that pea soup for lunch, whatever it is, your meager efforts to do it on the most basic level actually opens in you space for a place for that holy city, that New Jerusalem, to actually descend and find a home in you, for heaven to find a home in your heart, for goodness to find a way into your being. God can't break his word to you. And that Jesus has run ahead of us and has taken up his permanent post and is pulling us into the goodness and the truth and the beauty of what God has for us. This is true in our world, this is true in the universe, and this is true in our church. There is still good and true and great days ahead of us, and this is true in our lives. And it is my hope for you, it is my hope for you, that you will but pull in the most meager of ways, that you will but future receive a blessing in the most beautiful ways. Because it is my belief that, from one of my great spiritual teachers, Emanuel Swedenborg, that when he says, when we move one thing, God moves 1,000 things. Friends, there are 1,000 blessings ready to come your way. If you'll but receive the future that comes to us from an unbreakable spiritual lifeline, reaching past all appearances, right to the very presence of God, where Jesus, who has run on ahead of us, has taken up his permanent post and draws you to him. This is my hope for all of you, friends, in this day. Peace and grace to you. I want to see who came in and say hi. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. Vicky, good morning. Glad you're here. Jean, everybody, if you can keep Doug in your prayers, that would be great. He is quite ill and could use your prayers. Good morning, Jean, and blessings to Barbara as well. Yvette, good morning. Jane, good morning to you. Great to see you. Good morning. Peace and grace to you all. And we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.